Join me as we spend some more time working with average or mean. On this assignment, we will be finding the mean of a group of numbers, as usual. The one thing that's different about this is that we actually have some negative integers in here as well. They're not all positives. So we're going to find the average of a group of numbers which may or may not include negatives. I'm going to do numbers 6 through 9 and then 15 and 16 with you. We'll start with 6. 6 is the first one with a negative in it. We'll do these together and I'll show you a strategy that I use. We'll find the mean and then we'll go on to the next page. This won't take very long because these are pretty small numbers, so adding them up won't be very time consuming. Number 6, 5, -2, and 3. I really like to add up all the positives and then put all the negatives together. And I'm going to do that on all of these. It's just easier for me to do it that way. 5 plus 3 is 8, minus 2. A lot of these only have one negative, so it's even easier. 8 minus 2 is 6. The total is 6. There are 1, 2, 3 numbers. So to find the mean, I'll take the total of 6. I'll divide by 3 numbers, and I get 2. So the average of these 3 numbers, 5, -2, and 3, is 2. Number 7, 6, -1, 2, and 5. I'm going to add them up, add up the positives, 11, 12, 13, minus 1. That gives me 12, so my total is 12. I'll take my total, I'll divide by 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers. That gives me 3. The mean is 3. Number 8, I already tallied them up. The total positives, 10 minus 2, I get 8. There are 4 different numbers, so I'll take my 8, divide by 4, I get 2. Number 9, I counted the positives, I got 18. 18 minus 3 is 15. I have 5 numbers in all. So I'll divide that 15 by 5, and I get a 3. The average of these 5 numbers is 3. Let's look down at 15. When I added up all the positives, I got 14. And then I counted up the negatives, I got 14. So it's literally 14 minus 14, which is 0. I've got 5 numbers. 0 minus 5 is, of course, 0. Can you believe the average of all these numbers is exactly 0? 14 positives, 14 negatives, 0. Huh. I've never seen an average of 0 before, but that makes sense. 16, I added up the positives, had to add them up like that because there's so many. 8 plus 5 is 13, so 13, 13, and 15 gives me 41. Minus 6 is 35. I take that 35 and I divide by the 5 numbers, and I get 7. My average is 7. So it's really very simple, and you rarely ever have to write out your math. Mostly you can do it in your head. Find the average of the rest of these, and let's look at the next page. Before we actually start the page, let's do a quick review of the terminology. Range is when you have a group of numbers, how far apart are they spread out? You'll find the smallest number, which is 3, and the biggest number, in this case, which is 7. How far apart are they? 4. So the distance of the smallest to biggest number is 4. You just basically take the biggest number, subtract the smallest. That tells you your range. Median, see, this is the median in a road. It's the middle part. It's very important. Some people forget this, and they will repeatedly forget this. It's very, very important. You put the numbers in order from smallest to biggest. Once they're in order from smallest to biggest, the median is the one in the middle. And if you have 2 that are in the middle, you find the average of those 2. And then mode is simple. It's the one you have the most of. Sometimes people think it's the biggest number. It's not the biggest number, it's the number that is repeated the most times. In the word mode, D is repeated the most times, so D would be the mode. With that said, let us look at our page. We're going to do numbers 1 and 4 together. Let's begin with number 1. In a spellings test, that's interesting. In a spelling test, some children in the class score 13, 17, 12, 19, 20, and 13, and 11 out of a total of 20. Find their mean, median, mode, and range. All right, of all the spelling tests. Now, there are several numbers, but let's make sure that we point out that we only want those numbers that are the class scores. This is not a class score. It's just telling us that don't worry, these scores really aren't that low because the highest they could get was 20. It's also there to confuse you because some people will be tempted to add that in. I'm going to start by putting them in numeric order, from least to biggest. We have 11, 12, 13, we have another 13. Let me cross these out. 17, 19, and 20. It's a lot easier when I cross them out as I use them. All right, so the mean, that is what we just did. That's where we add them all up. You are welcome to use a calculator on this if you'd like. Now, it's very important if you choose to use a calculator. It's very important that you make sure that your answers make sense because it is extremely easy to make a mistake in a calculator. And when you do, everything's gone. So I don't know if I plugged in the right numbers or not. I can't see them. If you're lucky enough to have a fancy calculator that will list everything that you type in, that would be very helpful. Because if the number isn't reasonable, you can go back and check. But with this, you don't. So be very careful. Number 1, that you type in exactly what you want. And number 2, that you decide if your answer seems reasonable. So the total is 105. I'm just going to write this underneath the word mean, because that's not really the mean. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 grades. Let me count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 grades. Okay, I didn't miss anything. I will divide by 7. The mean score is 15. Now let me ask myself, is this reasonable to be the average of all those scores? Does it kind of seem like it's about in the middle-ish? Yes, it does. So I feel confident that I plugged in the right numbers with that. So the mean is 15. The median, that's the middle. I have an odd group, so it'll be easy to find. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay, so this is my middle number, 13. I've got 3 on this side, 3 on this side. So the median is 13. The mode is the number that I see the most. And it just so happens that there are 2 13s. So 13 is my mode. Range, that's how far apart they're spread from the smallest all the way to the biggest. Since they're in order, it's easy to find the smallest and biggest. So 20 minus 11 is 9. So the range of scores is 9 apart. That is how we do number 1. And I specifically chose to do number 1 because I wanted to point out that that 20 is not one of their scores. Now we'll look at number 4. Oh, ice cream. I would love to have some ice cream. Vanilla bean with this chocolate, dark chocolate shavings. Okay, sorry. An ice cream van sells a range of different ice creams for 2 weeks. This is the number of ice creams he manages to sell. Oh, wow. Find the mean, median, mode, and range of his ice cream sales. Goodness, so we're going to add up all of these and all of these. I decided to save you the time of watching me write these all out and add them up. What I did, I ordered them all from least to greatest, and it wasn't exactly easy because you got two different groups of numbers, and I was adamant that 75 was the smallest, and then I kept finding smaller numbers and smaller numbers, so it took me a while. Anyhow, but I did eventually get them there. So good for you. You get to just copy what I have. So if you want to stop this and copy them down, go ahead and do that. There are a lot of numbers to write. With that said, we will find the mean. I went ahead and I added them all up. I added each group of numbers and I checked it twice, and then I added these together just because I felt like if I tried to add them all together at once, I'd be less likely to catch a mistake. So with so many numbers, I broke it down. I need a better calculator, one that keeps track of the numbers that you've pushed in. So anyhow, so I added up the two groups, and then when I put those together, the total of all of the sales is 1,190. So he made 1,190 sales of ice creams, and I was not one of them. Now that we have the total, we'll divide that by the number of days that he sold. There are 7 days in a week, so there are 7 numbers. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? So there are 14 numbers. There are 14 days. So I'll take the total and divide by the number of days, 14. And it's fine on this assignment. It's fine to use a calculator. Divided by 14. 85. So he sold on average 85 ice creams every single day. They must be good ice cream. I wish he'd come to my neighborhood. I bet he has vanilla bean with dark chocolate shavings. That is dairy free because I'm not allowed to have dairy. Yeah, that too. Median. Since there are 7 and 7, that's 14. It's an even number. So when I came and found the middle, there are 2 in the middle. Remember what happens when you have 2 that are in the middle. You're going to find the number that comes immediately between those. And it's not going to be a whole number because you've got, if you see, 82, 83, 84, 85. You don't even have a one solid number between those two. The easiest way you can look at that and see that it's going to be 83.5. But if you're not sure, remember the method to find it out is to take these two numbers, add them together. So I will do that. 82 plus 85, and then divide by 2, because they're two numbers. You end up with 167 divided by 2. 2 goes into 16 8 times. 2 goes into 7 3 times, with 1/2 left over. So the median is 83.5. Remember, you just add those together and divide by 2. You can write it in fraction form or decimal form. You could have chosen to put it as 83.5. If you had done long division or if you'd used the calculator, it would put it in decimal form. Mode. Mode is so easy. I love mode. It's the easiest one. There is actually only 2 numbers. There's only one pair of numbers that are the same. Right here, 102, 102. So the mode is 102. It's the only number that's repeated. The range, biggest to smallest, that's a pretty big range. 109 minus 61. I'll just take my calculator, 109 minus 61. I get 48. The range of all those numbers is 48. I'd like to see you go back and do the middle too.